Sorry. So it's padding left and padding right. Why isn't my padding right showing? Okay. Okay. Well, I'll fix that before we come back from break, but let's just style some of these items. Usually you want to get rid of some of the link attributes. Let us give it a style instead. I like to give classes to most of my elements. Link. Link. Yeah, I think we should make this a gray. First, we'll get rid of the text decoration there because we don't need that. Then we'll give it a color of black. I'll just make this. Okay, that's it. And we can actually style everything that is not a last chart on this link. So we'll say if it is not the last chart, and we'll give it a margin right. It's 10 pixels. Make it a lot of space actually. 16 pixels. Yeah, so that's 16 pixels. Okay. Oh, okay. Let's get rid of that bottom border, specific border. Okay. So for some reason, this is having a horizontal scroll bar. And that is because I remove that right margin. Yeah. Okay. Well, I think we should go on a break right now. But this is how you would normally style a header. By the time we come back from our break, we would see what is wrong with this header, because there's definitely something wrong with this header. But does anybody have any questions right now? Okay. So in the absence of questions, I think we should go on a 15 minutes break. We'll be back 12:30 and we'll see, we'll continue from there. And hopefully we'll just round this up, then we'll go straight to JavaScript. See you guys 12:30.
Hello. Hello.
Yeah.
Oh, David, no, you just the student. Good afternoon. Hello, Bello, Joy, Tenny,
Yes.
Tenny Biaje, something. Sorry if I pronounced your name wrongly. So, do we have questions so far? Have we been following through? Lady G.
So well, I've been following. I think the part I didn't get was the part where he took head link, not the not part. Was that the name of the class? That wasn't the name of the class. So, but he was calling that in CSS. So I didn't get that.
Okay. Do you have your screen? So can you share your screen with us? Is there anybody that is ready to share?
No, I don't have my screen available. I'm just watching.
Oh, okay. So I hope
Sorry, can I just address that?
Yeah.
Okay.
That not is called a pseudo class. Like it's called a pseudo class, and it represents elements that don't match a selector. So there are a bunch of pseudo classes that you can use in CSS to kind of target certain elements.
Or even if they were not called they were not imputed in the HTML, you can just put it in CSS.
No. Yeah, kind of. Not like if they were not imputed. Let's say you can call the children of an element. You can call the next sibling of an element. So we are going to look at it. There are ways that you can, even though there's no class on a particular element, there are still ways you can access them through CSS. You can change styles on them. Yes.
Okay. You call it a pseudo class, right?
Yes, a pseudo class.
Okay.
So do we all have an IDE on our PC?
Yes, hello sir. Yes, I do have an idea. I use Visual Basic, Visual Studio. I mean.
Okay, so Visual Studio is still an IDE.
Yes. I think you're asking if we have a visual, an IDE on our system, and I said yes. So I have a kind of question, but I don't know. Thank you so much. And the facilitator has been very, very awesome. Very, very awesome. Like I followed through from the beginning of the class, and it has been so beautiful. What I want to point out is that I believe there are some people on this call that are very, very new to anything called development, web development, either HTML, CSS, and the other like that. And they wish me as a person I'm part of. I think the first time we had this class, I also tried to like say something about this, that me personally as a person, that I'm very, very new to all this. I'm just learning, and there's some stuff that has been mentioned during the class today that I don't really know how to like what are they trying to say? But all I'm going to do is I will go back and do research on every other stuff that have been mentioned in the class. That's for me. But I just a suggestion, if it's possible, that the class can be more flexible in a way that for those that are just starting from the beginning, if we can take the class in that route also, I think it's gonna be good also. That's just a suggestion from me. And the facilitator mentioned something that after the break that we are going into JavaScript. Wow. I was thinking maybe we're going to talk about Git, how to create a repo and stuff before going to JavaScript. It's just me. Thank you so much, sir.
Okay, so your concerns are well noted, and we will look into that and then get back to everybody. So for people on this call, please let's know, are there people who are totally confused, like they don't know what is going on here today? Because just like Mr. Victor has raised a point and we are putting that into consideration. So for every other person on the call, you are totally new, you don't understand what is happening. Please, can we know you so that we can know how to address this issue? So the thing is, if you speak up, it helps us and it helps you. But if you don't, there's no way, we don't know where it is pinching you. So we are not inside you, and then there's no way we can help. So like I stated earlier, our target is to ensure that you have a very good learning experience. And by the time you are done with this program, you should be able to get something up running. But if you don't speak, there's no way we can access. Okay, Isa, you can unmute yourself. Hello. Esther, Godson, Esther, Opeyemi, Izu, do you have something to say, Joy?
Yeah, I think I'm also new, but I've been following. I'm really not conversant with some of the CSS, but I think with the facilitators class now, I'm understanding how I need to call a class. So I'm following, but I don't think I'm prepared for JavaScript. That's the truth, because I'm still trying to familiarize myself with CSS. So that's for me.
Okay.
And I don't know anything about, I don't know jack about Git. So
okay, so that's noted. Who is Hawaii? Okay, please, let's hear from you. Hello, we are waiting. Hello. Good afternoon. We can't hear you. Your voice is quite faint.
Can you hear me?
Yes, a bit better now. I believe everyone can hear him too.
Yes. My name is Nuruddin. Sorry, that's my name. That is the name of my phone, and this is my first time of attending the class on Zoom. And they have been posting the information pertaining to the class, but I've not been opportune to attend the class, so it's my first time actually. So because the reason was that I did not have the necessary equipment to attend the class, like my PC and every other thing. So I believe that by attending the class today, maybe I will be guided on the necessary where I can start from in order to catch up. That's my aim of attending the class today. So if there's anything that can be done, I'll be so grateful.
Okay. All right. Esther.
Yes, good afternoon, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I think I have, all right, so I have the same concern with Joy, because I think I have this syndrome. Like, some of my friends are telling me that JavaScript is hard. I know a bit about HTML, and I'm still trying to wrap my head around CSS. But I think I'm scared of JavaScript. That's the only concern I have right now.
Okay. Okay, so okay, so that is noted. So Isa, let's hear from you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Hello,
Isa.
can you?
Yes, you can.
Okay. I honestly appreciate the class. Even though, just as I raised it earlier, I haven't really been consistent in the previous classes. But then I think part of my issues is not having the time to have gone back to what has been treated in the other class. So for me, it's a bit confusing, but I believe I would be able to follow up with, and then maybe the concerns of others are looked into and I share from the solutions to their own concerns. I think it will help me a lot. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So does anybody have any? Okay.
Hi, good afternoon all.
Good afternoon, Daniel.
Yeah, so it's I just want to say a big thank you first, but one thing I'd like to still point out, I don't think this is a question though. I don't think it's a question because like most people here, I'm still new to HTML, CSS, you know, the whole development stuff. I work on professional as a QA, but I just decided to, you know, get more knowledge on this. But I think we can't really get, I don't think we can really get every necessary details, you know, to really be able to carry out whatever implementations we want to do. I feel we can only get a guided, you know, a guideline to some of the things that are needed, or let's say for instance, even the CSS, I have a couple of questions because I still try to find it, you know, I still try to put my head around you know, the CSS, and you know, when you go on there, you see them typing margin, like each of those you know, how do they call it, commands, you know, I still try to think how or what they actually do, because you have a whole lot of them. And but I feel me being on the class, it's left for me to, you know, make more research. like we all know, this is just a 3 months you know, tutorials, and I don't think we can get all the knowledge here. So it's just for me to browse more with the assignments being given to us and the rest, you know, you just research more and try to get, I'm not trying to put anyone down. I know, because me too, I'm also a newbie with HTML and CSS and the rest, but I feel, you know, it's something we can always just try to make more research. And you know, once we engage more, one thing I always know is the more you try engaging in projects, like the assignments they give to us, and I think for some while I have really been so adamant about learning front end because of the many jargons I see around HTML. And but with through the assignments they give to us, at least it's not that scary for me. Again, I feel I can, you know, engage with any thing they give to me and just try to see how best I can come out of it. So for me, I think showing us or giving us a guideline towards you know, getting up and running with this is more than, you know, enough for anyone to, you know, move on and start their process or development. So for me, I would just say thank you to Twicher for the opportunities. Like I said, we can never really get everything from here.
Okay.
Please,
Any other
let me
person
just quickly add. It's my first class. It's my first class. I think I just followed on the basics of HTML. It's my first. So I wouldn't know if there were assignments or groups assigned. Please, I'm sorry. I would like to be part of it so that I follow suit. Yes, I think it will help me a great deal. Thank you.
Okay, so we've listened to this. We've listened to your concerns, And we are going to have a meeting as regards some of the things that, please, if you're not talking, please mute yourself. Thank you. So we are going to have a meeting concerning some of these things because, like I said, learning tech is not easy. I mean, it is quite attractive, there's no doubt, but it is not easy. Sometimes you can get lost on journey because there are so many information that you have to consume. Okay, there are so many challenges ahead, but you being part of a group is something that will now smoothen that path for you. So I totally understand. So I know some of you feel, okay, we are being rushed. Yeah. So this is the feedback that we're going to take back, and then we are going to discuss this with the facilitator and every stakeholder and see the best method that we can deploy. So the idea was to give you guys the opportunity to do both front end and back end. But let's see how it goes. Even if it means if at the end of this program, if we cannot meet up with that to ensure that you do both back end and front end and back end, but if at the end of this program you can comfortably build, as in you are comfortable with front end, I think that is something there. Okay, so we've listened to the concerns. We are going to go back and then review it and then come up with the best solution to ensure that you have a very good learning experience. So like I said, if you are very new, don't feel frightened, or it's not learning is not fun. I have to be honest. This is something that I tell everybody I come across. Learning tech is not fun. It's boring. I mean, it's one of the most boring because you have to sit on your screen. And just imagine you are here for 2 hours looking at a blank screen. Okay, or maybe when you have to go online to read up because you have to do a whole lot of read up. Okay, we cannot spoon feed you with everything, but the best that we can, we will ensure that we give it to you. You also, just like one of the students have said, you have to develop what is called lifelong learning, where you can actually learn on your own at your own space, do research, okay, study, and contribute to projects. So that's the best way you can grow. So you can, all your facilitators here, I believe that was how they learn. Nobody has time to come and sit with you from morning to night, but the best time that the little time that they have, so please appreciate it, okay? But I can assure you that before you finish this program, if you are very serious with it, you get the value for it. That's what I can promise. So I think I'll just hand it over to David so that we can continue. Oh, and so Ogene is here. Hello. Hello, madam. Is she on the call?
Yeah, I'm messaging her currently. I don't know if she's back. I'm asking her.
Okay.
So but pending that, let's continue. So yeah, I just wanted to say you don't necessarily have to go to JavaScript today. Let's just see how far we can actually take this, right? And concerning your learning equal fit, I'll just say what I usually hear. You don't actually have to know everything right now. That is not. It's impossible to actually know everything like once you start. In fact, it's impossible to know everything because you will constantly be learning, and whatever you don't know, don't worry about it so much. As time goes on, you'll come across more opportunities to learn things. So let's continue. On the
thank you so much, Mr. David. Thank you so much. Thank you, sir.
On the parts that because looking at the timetable, I thought like would, because the first thing that we were supposed to go through was intro to programming and web development, which would basically talk about not just programming parts, but like what is the web, what's the internet, what's it made of, and stuff like that. So that's actually going to be, since we can't, I feel like we shouldn't go back to that because that's really bad. We're going to, I think it's best we give it to you guys as a research question and you guys will write a report on that. I'm going to give you guys like some things that are keywords and things that I would like to see in your report. And definitely you should submit your report. I'll talk to Roland about, the ways that we can get that report from you. That's just one of the assignments, but we'll talk about it by the end of the class today. So if you can't see my screen, just let me know. So this is where we stopped before the break. We have the header component. It's looking a bit better. There was a horizontal scroll bar, which wasn't actually a horizontal scroll bar there. It was since I zoomed in my screen, it was looking chopped off. So I didn't really change any CSS. This is what it looks like. And yeah, so coming to links, when you want to style links, a link or hyperlink, as they call it, has different states. There are 4 link states. So right now, these links are in the unvisited state, which is they haven't been clicked yet. So once you click on them, there's no contact us page. So definitely, as I was telling us before, we can create that later. Once you click on it, it becomes it enters the visited state, which you can style. And then it also has the other 2. It has the hover states. Every element actually has that state. And then it has the active states. Those are the 4 states. And you can access those states by just doing, let's try to use the visited states. I'm not using a class for this. I'm just calling the tag. So in CSS, you can also just call a tag, which is, it's like the lowest priority. Class has a higher priority than this. So we'll just take a brief look at priorities also. So if we say unvisited, it's red. This tag is red, right? Refresh that. Contacts. Okay, I think it's not working because it's not a normal, what you call it? It doesn't link anywhere. So we'll just use the hover instead. We use the hover state. This is red. That is one of these tagged states. And that is a way for you to access the state. And to talk about the priority, see a class, we said in the beginning when I was explaining cascading style sheets that it works from top to bottom. So if I were to do link, header link, which is the current link, header link, over, color, green, right? And I come here and I do header link over red. What is going to be the color? Can somebody give me an answer to that?
Blue.
Blue, but there's no blue here. It's green or red. It's between green or red.
Okay.
It's going to be green first.
It's going to be green, sir.
It's going to be green when you hover.
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's try that out. Let's refresh and hover. No, it's red. So, like I mentioned, cascading style sheet means it works from top to bottom. So it's going to read this as sets the header link to green first, right, on hover, but then it comes and it sets the header link to red. So it's going to say, oh, let me take this red instead of this green. But then if you want to add priority to this red, to make it red, let's give another example.
On what a user.
This is the tag name for link, is the tag A. And now we're saying this is color red, and then this is color green. So which one do you think is going to be on hover? Does anybody have the answer?
I think it's going to be red, sir.
It's going to be red?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let's refresh that. No, it's green this time. Now, this actually is the preferred way for you to assign things. Is more specific. So even though this red is down here, right? Because of the specificity, oh blood. Specificity, because of the specificity.
To be specific, right?
Yeah, the specificity of your class. So it goes like this. So if you are styling things, you have the tag first, and the tag is less specific than the class, and its class is less specific than the ID. We'll talk about ID next. And then the ID is less than when you do something like important. I think, yeah. So for now, tag is like the least specific. So if you have a tag and then you want to write over it, instead of just going down and writing another tag, you can add a class to that. So you can add a dot header. And now you can do this. When you do something like this, this just means that I have a tag, right? This tag is a link tag, and I'm picking every tag with a class of header link on it. And it's hover properties, over attributes. So this is going to pick this same header link because this is a tag with a class of header link, and it's going to overwrite this guy. It's going to overwrite this guy because it's more specific, and it is more specific because it has both a tag and a class. So if I say color now here is blue, and I go back to my page, and I hover on it, say blue. And the beauty about this is that it really doesn't matter exactly where on the page it is. It can be right above this guy. And then the cascading thing where it chooses the last value, it doesn't matter at that point because specificity is, forgive me, is takes priority over that particular nuance. So you can just continue of giving it, I feel like we should give it a. So there's a property called font width, which is self-defining, defines the font width. Usually 400 is like thin fonts, 500 is normal fonts, and then from 600 upwards is bold. So let's just say on over, we want something bold. Yeah, so it's kind of jumpy. I don't like that jump. It's kind of jumpy. And yes, you can also change the font family. I'm a fan of sans serif. I think, yeah. So this is bold sans serif that is jumping, and we can make the whole. You don't have to put font family as a property in this all elements. You can just make it, put it in the body, because there's something called inheritance. And what inheritance is there are some properties in HTML and CSS that get inherited. Like if a parent's div has a font family, a vertical or Times New Roman, by default, if you don't set a font family for the child is going to inherit that font family. So if you just set a font family, see all the text here, because I set it in the body tag, and every other tag is a child of the body tag. So I don't have to set the font family over and over again. I can just set it there. I think this bold really doesn't work. So we can do sorry. What's a good color? Let's call it sky blue. Too dark. Something cool. Yeah, so that should be. Yeah, that's a lot better. Yeah. This is just what a basic header looks like. Next up, most sites usually have like a banner, and would just do a quick banner, put some text on it, and we'll see how that looks like. How
Add a slider.
Well, you want to do a slider?
I'm just kidding.
Make we start with a code slider. I don't think it's not for today. Let's not. Okay. Okay. I think there's even a tag. We can just use the banner tag, right? No, so make our banner a div, give it a class of banner. In fact, no, let's give it an ID of banner, and we'll also give it a class. I will talk more on specificity. So for our banner by default, since it's a div tag, this is already like a, how do you call it? It's a block element. already.
David, sorry. So it's possible to nest more tags inside a tag, right?
Yes, that's what we've been doing now. This is nesting.
Because we have. So I'm just asking for the sake of people that because it might be confusing to some people, especially for people that are new. And then what was the ID and the class? What's the difference between both?
That's what I'm trying to get out. So for ID refers to ID must be unique on the page. Number one, a class doesn't have to be unique. So if I'm using this banner ID now, I shouldn't use a banner ID anywhere else on this page. I can use it in another page, that doesn't matter, but I shouldn't use it anywhere else on this page. But for class, I can use as many of the same class as I want. Like, for example, there are 3 header link classes here. And also another difference is that the specificity of banner is higher than that of class. So for example, if you want to, for ID is higher than that of class. And if you want to call your ID for classes, you use this # or hash, and then call your class banner. You can give the banner a height of say 250 pixels, right? And we'll give it the background color of, let's just make it ugly, brown. And then also do class. So do class of banner. I will give it a height. Make sure it's very different. I'll give it 200 pixels and give it a background color of barley wood. Okay, so who knows which styles are going to take effect between these two? Is it this top one or is it the bottom one? Like, who can give that answer?
The top one.
Top one. And what's your reason behind that?
Yeah, so the top one is an ID, while the bottom one is a class.
Okay, yeah, so it's an ID, so it should be more specific. So yeah, is it 250 pixels? Yeah, 250 pixels, brown. So yeah, it's the top one. So let's get rid of this bottom one then. Get rid of that. Let's get rid of the class. I would style it by ID, just to show you. I think the banner should be a bit bigger. It's kind of small. 100 pixels. Now that we've done this, we're going to talk about positioning now. So like to, usually when you have a banner, you would position some things everywhere. You can have some text at the top, some text at the bottom. I think this banner is kind of still small. Maybe my screen is just large. Yeah, better. You have some text at the top, you have some text at the bottom, and so on and so forth. And we also have like an image. So let's look for images online. I'll just use, please forgive me if my example is a bit ugly. It's just for demo. I don't know what's wrong with all this here. Shutterstock to have that. Hey, okay, well, we'll just manage it. No, I don't want people. We want something more generic. Let's see if this is really large. Okay, let's manage this. And images on it. Call this template. So I'm going to save it as JPEG. Sorry, was trying to get an image, but it's still no longer for me. Okay, this is JPEG. Yeah, so we have the image we want to use. I will be styling this with this image. So now there's a couple of ways you can actually style this, right? One of the ways is you set it as a background image. Before we do that, we should create an assets folder where we'll keep our assets. And the assets folder will have another folder for images. And in that images folder, we can then do this thing to this. The images folder, we can then just add our image. So please, if you have, if you are lost, you can just raise up your hand and I can answer whatever questions you may have. Cool. Is this? Sorry. Isn't that JPEG? Are you whining me? Okay, it's JPEG. Let's check properties. This is crazy. Oh. I just want to double check my path. Okay, the images. Okay, that's fine. So we've added the image to the assets folder and the images. So one of the ways we can actually add the image to this is to directly add it as an image tag. And to reference that, we're going to just do a dot slash. This dot slash means from my working directory, from my current directory, sorry. And see, once I did dot slash, it's already showing me the options I have. I can index is my current file, then the CSS styles, which is this, and then the assets folder. Go into the folder, go into images, and then temple.js. For my auth, which is best practice, always add an auth description. This makes it more accessible. Like in case there's somebody who doesn't see well or who needs aid, like the person can always see that this is a banner, for example. Okay. And that should show, wouldn't be pretty. Yeah, so this is the temple banner. Right. And talking about working directories, sometimes right now I'm accessing a file that is within the same working directory, no, not within, in another working directory, but the working, like in another directory, but the directory is kind of like inside. It's not outside, then away, like outside my current file, then in another file. It's just inside a file that is, that is a sibling to my file. If I want to access another file that is outside my current file, I will do a --. And see, it changed the options that it's giving me because it's going outside my directory. It's going to the mother page, which is my projects page, and I have a few projects here. This is the current project I'm on. Then I have like 2 other projects, checkout and matching pages, and I can actually enter those projects. Yeah, public. And I can access a logo from there. I don't know what this logo looks like. Yes, it's kind of broken, but that's not what I'm going to do. I just wanted to show you guys that, just in case you would want to access a file that is not in your current directory. Class, I'll just give this banner logo or banner image. And I can style the image. Of course, I'm going to actually style this image in another way. I just wanted to show you guys a way you can style images. Most times you would want to give your image a height of 100% and a width of auto, so it doesn't, it keeps its aspect ratio. So, before it was overflowing, and now the height is 100% and the width is auto. But if you want your image to cover your div, you can give it an object fit cover. Well, it won't really cover it because of this height. Yes. The better way to actually do this, which I'm going to do right now. Sorry for that.
Okay, you can give it a width of 100%. It should cover.
Yeah, if I give it a width of 100%, but it won't keep that aspect ratio again. Yeah. So it's not.
And then give it the height. Then give it the height of like 400 pixel or 400 pixel, not 100%.
Let me give it a max height instead.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now it's what do you call it? It has covered, right? But it didn't keep the aspect ratio. Usually you want to keep that to a good point. And then there's also contain. It will make sure it fits and retain its aspect ratio. Another way you can actually add your image instead of using this image tag is to add it as a background image. So if you want to add it as a background image, you can just do that. You can do background image, and the background image takes a URL, which is the URL to your image. Save. And yeah, see. So by default, the background image is on repeat. So you can do background repeats, and you give it no repeats. And boom, your background doesn't repeat anymore. And we want this image to be 100%, so we can actually give it a background size. I can just give it cover. It's 100%. But now it's kind of so that it's just the top of this tower you're seeing. You're not really seeing much of it. So you can give it a positioning. You can call it center. Let's see how it looks at the center. This just makes it horizontally center and vertically center. That's what center is. You can also position X and Y, if that's what you want to do. Yeah, so just position X and Y. Or we can just put it in one property. It's not so bad. The image is kind of blurry, but that wouldn't matter so much as we move on. So this background image that we're currently seeing, all these, we can actually put them into just one. Oops. So let me just so we can put it into just one property called background. And this will take a URL of the same URL. Then we'll tell it no repeats, and we want it center. So that's just basically like this: 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 3. Into just one line. It's the same. Sorry, I think this should be. Yeah, it's the same. So we want to add some text, probably like a heading to this. So let's add some text, and we'll call this H1. And we'll say welcome to Twicher. Welcome to Twicher. The issue now with this is a lot of times you would want your, let's give this a class called banner title. A lot of times you would want the text on your logo to have, on your banner to have like a color of white. White is FF. And then you start to see that it's maybe not as readable. This is not so bad, but it's kind of hard to read. So you would want to give it like a, you want to give it an overlay of some kind. Okay. So we can, there's a bunch of ways we can actually give an overlay to a div. One of the ways we can give an overlay to a div is by having another div. Okay, let's just go through this. So one of the ways is you have another div, and this would actually lead us to positioning. And we'll call this the banner overlay. So now we want to create a dark overlay over this guy. And we've created a new div called banner overlay. This is going to be our overlay. So to make sure it works, this div has to be 100% of the height and the width of this guy. And you know, once I do this banner overlay, and if I give it a height 100%, let's see what happens there. Boom, our text goes out of the picture. I'm sure the text is still there. If we check it, text is somewhere. Yeah. Welcome to Twicher. It's right at the bottom of this place. The reason being, the overlay is a div, and a div is displayed block by default. So what we want to do is we want to position the div in such a way that it doesn't affect every other element. So we use positioning for that. We'll just call this position absolute. And if you want to use positioning, for every element you use a positioning other than relative, you need to position the parents as relative. This way, it tells this object, it tells the elements that, oh, okay, I want to position you absolute relative to your parents. And once you do that, it takes the element out of the current document object structure, and it places it like on its own. If I were not to add this position relative to this div, to this, to make this thing easier to find, let's just call this overlay. But I want us to add, say, is over here now on the same line, even though this guy is H1 and is by default, what do you call it? It's by default is by default a block element. This is still on the same line as this because this has been moved out of this structure. And if you remove the relative, if you forget to put a relative on the parent, it's going to be positioned with respect to the page. Yeah, I think fixed will show you that more. It's going to be positioned with respect to the page. Oh, that's changed. Moving on, you should add your relative there. And then for this overlay, we want it to be the height of the div and the width of the div. And then we want to give it a background color of black. 0000. Boom. Okay. So now the issue now is we can't see anything, right? To fix that, we can just give this an opacity. Give it an opacity of about 0.3. And yeah, so there's an issue. And the issue is that the overlay is bigger than the container. Okay, so we'll fix that. Oh yeah, so we forgot to actually position the overlay properly, left and top. So usually when you have an overlay like this, once you've positioned something fixed, you have control over exactly where you place it. So you can place it, you can set the left, top, right, and bottom properties of that element. So right now, the way I've placed it across my whole page. So now it's positioned left 0, top 0. But I want to make it come down about some pixels. And I want to give the height of like 400 pixels because that's the height of my box. And that will fit it right into this container here. So now there's an overlay. And now the issue with this overlay is that the elements that are outside the overlay are below it. So I can just fix that by giving it a Z index of 0 and then giving this a Z index of 1. I probably have to, Z index wouldn't work without a position of relative, or any position actually. You need to put a position on your elements before you can use the Z index property. So that's why if I remove this relative, it's just going to go back to the bottom of that. Open Twicher. I think I want to make this block. To make this flex, I can align my text center and also justify its center. I think I need to make my title a bit bigger, so I'll change the font size. I like 32. That's 32 already. Let's try 40. 2 pixels. Yeah. So this is one way of creating a banner overlay, just putting a fixed positioning. And then, making it have the same height and width as your div. Usually you should be able to use like 100% on that. And another way which you can actually add an overlay to your banner is using a, what do you call it? A pseudo element. And then you can just set the pseudo element widget. We've talked about pseudo classes also, yeah, when I used not this. They are also pseudo elements. So every, or almost every, if not every element has two pseudo elements at least, and they are before and after. And you mostly use these pseudo elements to style things like this overlay that we're about to style. So this pseudo elements is going to be on top of the banner. And then the pseudo element is going to be after. I can also use before. It really doesn't matter which I use, whichever one I use, I can use before or after. And when you're setting pseudo elements, it's always important to put your content. If not, it wouldn't show. Or display it block. Sorry, this is not coming up. Display block. We'll position it absolute. We will give it a top of 0, and it's going to be at the very top, at the very left-hand side corner. We'll give it a height of 100%, no width, 100%. With Z index 2 of 0. And give it a background color. So the background color, you can add, I think you should be able to do RGBA, which is red, green, blue, and alpha. So for this, if we just set all this to 0, 0, 0, this will give you a black. It's very black, because this alpha is basically telling it the opacity to give this color. This should give you like a black, all black background, which is what we do not want. So we'll set the opacity back down to about 3. So this is the second way you can create an overlay. This is my preferred way of creating an overlay, because I don't have to actually create like another, what do you call it, another div. So we can get rid of this. Okay, so we'll just do something now. Let's just add an animation. Let's go through. Let's see what it would be like if we wanted to add an animation to this page. For instance, I think to make it look maybe a bit better, can just increase this and then make this banner. So we can actually we can calculate things in CSS. For instance, if I want to make the height of this banner my full width, the full height of this screen, usually I would do 100 viewport height, which is VH. And if I want to make it the full width, I can do 100 viewport width, which is VW. Well, usually, like a lot of times now, I've given it full height, and you can see there's like a scroll bar on this thing, right? And I don't want that because I want it to just fit. I just want this header and this banner to be on this page without the scroll bar. I want everybody to see this whole information at once. What I can do is I can use calc, which is basically like a function, and to take some values, I can calculate simple arithmetic in it. So we can do plus, minus, division, addition, subtraction, you know. So I'm going to minus the header height from it. And that's removed the horizontal scroll bar. Now I have a welcome to Twitter full width. Once I land here, looks like I'm looking at the banner. Like this takes up the whole page. And we want to add like a little animation there. So we'll add the animation. We'll use a div with a down arrow. So let's look for an SVG. Let's say that. Let's look for an SVG. Sorry. Down arrow. One. So the down arrows, that's good. Okay, yeah, so it's nice. This guy's serious. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, so
it's now premium.
yeah, it's now premium.
Oh, wow. It's been a while I've used this, so I didn't know. Okay, now we'll use PNG then. So
this week they made it premium.
it was this week. Okay. So we can just add that to our page. Download down arrow. Okay, so make it easy, let me just add it as an image tag. Usually you want to add like a div on it. I'll just go down. And that should be added on the page. So huge. We'll give it a class called banner arrow. So for this banner arrow, I want this arrow to be around this bottom part of the page. And I want it to tell people that there's more like content at the bottom, right? So I'm going to have to position it absolute, give it a right. I can give it a left too, but then I have to give it a very huge value of left. So since it's closer to the right, I can just give it a right, like 20 pixels. And I give it a bottom, since it's closer to the bottom of, let's say, 30 pixels actually. No, that should be fine. And it's very, very large. So I want to reduce the height. I'll reduce the height to, let's say, 30 pixels. So it's not too small. So now it's too small actually. And I think it's too much in the corner. So let's increase the height. Does fill work? Okay. I think actually a light SVG would work better on this page. But I've really forgotten how to change colors in this thing. Okay, edit. Should I have an account? You can really use. If it's already in use, then I should be able to log in. So accounts. Sorry, getting icons is really not my thing. All these icons are really ugly. Is this SVG? This SVG? PNG? No. Okay. Just do a little hack here then. So I can RGB. So what I'm going to do is, since I can't get a white 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, a white arrow, I'm just going to change the color of this. I think it's fair. Is it fair? Yeah, I should be able to. Yeah. That didn't work.
I think you have to target the SVG itself.
Yeah, this is not SVG. Okay, so it's not fill, it's filter. Yeah. If it was SVG, I could just change the color. That's why I was looking for SVG. But it's not letting me use SVG. This filter should actually work. Let me see, is this saved? Is this saved? We need to add. You know, agree for me. Okay. Let's move on. I'll still change that later on, but it's still looking a bit on scene. So let me just move it. I think it's too much to the right and too much to the bottom. Maybe we'll make it a bit bigger. Still ugly, but this is better ugly. So we want to do some CSS animations. There's basically two ways you can do CSS animation. One of the ways you can do is to use transitions. So, and you can transition a bunch of things. But the way we are going to do this is we're going to use the animation property, which is keyframes. So we're going to create custom animation for this using keyframes. And the identifier we will use is oscillate. I'm not sure if that is a good one to use. So for keyframes, you can do two things. If you want to set it, you can use it to a from and a to. From to, I think. And what from and to basically says is it's saying from is like 0% and to is like 100%. So what we're going to animate right now, we're going to animate we'll just use like the bottom property. I'll say it goes from 70. It goes from, let's start to really high. So let's say it goes from like 100 pixels to like bottom like 30 pixels. Yeah. Now, once we do that, we have to kind of like declare it because we've already added the keyframes as we've already we've defined it. Yes. So after we defined it, we need to add it as an animation. So the name of the animation is oscillate. Okay, so we don't actually, we'll talk about this one by one. Let's see how that works. We didn't do much. Hold on. Okay, I think it actually worked, but it's so fast that there's no timing function. So let's give it like 2 seconds. So now it works for 2 seconds up to down, and then it stops up to down, and then it stops. So what I want to do is I want to make it sorry. I want to make it I want to make it oscillate to infinity. So I'm going to give it all right. So now it oscillates to infinity. But another issue is it kind of just looks like it's getting to the bottom and it's just jarring back up. And that's not really what we want. And in fact, I think it's to be good if it's easy. So yeah, easy. So for us to kind of simulate that, we can actually define the positions, the time of this keyframe. So we say at 0% of the 2 seconds, I want this to be a bottom of 100 pixels. Then let's say at 50%, I want it to be back at 30 pixels on the bottom. And then at 100%, I want it to be at 100 pixels. Again, let's see what that does. Now it's kind of like, okay. So let's try using another timing function. Easy in and out. Yeah, that's a lot better. So now you can see it's animating that button. So what I want to do now is I want to find a solution to this guy. CSS has rejected my filter for some reason. Sorry, let me just be sure I'm using it on banner arrow. Banner arrow. Filter should work. But since it's not working, I think we may need to get another logo. Let me not do things online. Okay, let's do this. Height. Yeah. Sorry guys, just bear with me. Let's see, still should work. So that isn't working. So color. Okay, yeah. So yeah, let me just try this here. This. No, it's not picking up my new arrow, so let me just stop myself. Restart to my knowledge. Simple JS. Oh, this is weird. Okay. I think my filter is actually making it blah. Oh, okay, I see what I did there. So sorry, that's my bad. I realized now that I used 000 for my filter. So the filter works, but it's a black filter, not a white filter. So yeah, that's what the issue was. I used the wrong color. Yeah, so basically I think we'll stop here for now. I've created like a small header, just like the header page. We didn't do much on the body. We can continue that later. So what we're going to do now is we're going to add this to GitHub. Does everybody here have a GitHub account? Can you?
Yes, I do.
You do have a GitHub account. Everybody here does. Okay, yes, actually, you can have access to the code. I'm going to put the code right on GitHub. And I'm going to do it here so that everybody can see. Oh, that's that one. By any chance, were you guys like working along? I really doubt if you guys would have been able to like follow some things I was doing. So let's just create. So when you go to GitHub is an example of a version control system, a distributed version control system. So I work with GitHub a lot, like with one of my projects. For private projects, I really don't post much on GitHub, actually. But usually when you want to create a GitHub repo, you just click on new, and then you give it a name. So I'll call this Twicher. And the description is optional. Sorry, so that everybody can see. I'm going to just give it public access. And if you want to like work on something private, you can just go to private. I'm going to be importing a repo.
You didn't click back on private public.
I didn't. Yeah, sorry. Nice. Thanks for catching that. I'm going to be importing a new repo, but I'm still going to add a README file. I'm going to add this Git Ignore manually, and I will tell you what a Git Ignore file is. No need for a license. Let's just create this. So here is the file. here is the repository. It has an initial commit because I added that README file. If you just see, it's just the heading and the description. So if we want to add a project to Git, it's always good to always add a Git Ignore file. Git Ignore, I think, yeah. And there's a bunch of ways you can add files to your Git Ignore. A lot of times when you create projects, you add things that you don't want other people to see, like a .env file if you have environment variables, and you wouldn't want to give anybody access to those variables because those are keys that if people get a hold of them, they could get access to maybe your web server or your database or some resources on AWS, or who knows, those resources could have access to your client's credentials or money or something important. So anything you don't want to give access to, like you don't want to store in your repository, you should always add it to your Git repo. Usually we add things like your node modules. I'm sure we'll get to that when we start getting really into front-end things. Node modules is when is for those packages you get from NPM, which is, we'll look at those. But if you add things like this just means that any file, any folder called node modules, I want you to ignore it. And then we can do like a dot slash like index or dot index. And this is going to like ignore anything called index. But we don't want that. For now, we'll just keep node modules even though it's not there, just so we have a Git ignore file. And the first thing we do, we need to initiate Git in our working directory. So we'll do a Git init, and then we do a Git, I think it's set remote URL. Right? Then we have to get the URL of this place. Paste it there. Okay, sorry. Yeah, so after we initiate, we actually just do a git add, not a git origin. Yeah, so we add the origin. Origin doesn't match any, so we need to commit first. We need to add, first add. Then we need to commit our first commit. And then we add the remote URL. So now we can push to. So what this is basically telling us is we want Git to push, since it's the first push, we can add this -u, and the origin of our push would be to master. You always add origin, but this master it depends on the branch that you're pushing to. So that's basically it. We've pushed to master, right? And if we come back here and we refresh, we see, oh, okay, it looks like nothing is there, but I think it created another branch called master because Git moved away from master to main. So now this is the master branch, and these are the files that are there. So if you come here and you see there's nothing there on the default branch, you can just go to master. But there's going to be something there because so by default, Git branch is usually master. I don't know why GitHub changed their default branch to main. So what you can do is you can just push straight to main. All I just need to do is to change the origin from master to main. Main does not exist. Okay, so I can't push to main because I have not created a branch called main. So for me to create a new branch, we didn't really talk deep into Git, but I sense I think, like I said, everybody should read that the documents that I sent is going to explain a lot of things about Git.
Sorry, Mr. David.
Yeah.
You said you sent a document.
Yeah.
So where exactly, sir?
On the chat. I'm going to also add the if there's like a repo, I'm going to drop it also on the WhatsApp group chat for everybody to see.
Okay, thank you, sir.
At the end of it, so I'll drop it on there. So I think everybody should read through that. So in Git, you create multiple branches. So for every feature you work on, you usually create a new branch. So to create a new branch, you just have to do git checkout, and then you put a -b since it's a new branch. And you create that branch. So it says switched to new branch. And then we can just do git push origin. Okay, saying remote contains work that I do not have. And that is because there's a README file in main that I added when this README file. So usually what you do before you push is you make a pull. And you always, every time you make a push or a pull, you always have to state which branch you are calling it from. So the branch I'm calling this pull from is main. To check the status of what I'm working on, I just do a git status. So there's nothing to commit, so I can just push straight to main. Okay, I already did that. It's refusing to merge unrelated histories. Okay, so I think I need to allow the history. I also want to mention a huge part about being a developer is being able to troubleshoot your problem and having good research skills, like, because you are going to come a lot across a lot of problems. Like, see today, since the beginning of this tutorial, since there's always been like, oh, okay, why didn't this work exactly the way I wanted it to work? And you know, always have to find a solution. So if you come across a problem, don't feel like, oh, you're not getting it. Just ask Google, do your research, and I'm sure you would always find a suitable answer. And if you can't find a suitable answer, you can always ask. I'm always available to push origin. Yeah, so now I've pushed to main. And this is it, it's on main now. So after you push, a lot of times you would make more changes. like now we want to create like a want to add a sub to this page. Okay. So put all this here, put it in a div, and give this div some subtitle color. Make it font size all 24 pixels. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Z index is coming behind. 24 pixels is quite big, so make it 16. Bold. Something is definitely off. Let's see. Subtitle. Subtitle. Let's just see what if styles are there. Yeah, it's just on that. Okay, okay. Like I said, you can't use that index without giving it a relative position. Let me just block them. Yeah. So now you have some different text. Let's say you've added a new feature to your You've added a new feature to this your page and you want to push that. What you would usually do is first check what you want to add. Then you add it by using Git add. And you can actually add it file by file. You can add like index.html. And if you check the status now, you see you've added index, but you've not added your changes to the style. But you can add everything at once by just using dots or asterisk. And then it's always good to try to like pull from where you want to push through so that you don't get like any merge conflict. Like any merge conflicts you get, you fix on the spot. But since I just pulled, I can just push directly. That's funny. We'll just do this because I think it's because I did that. Add it again. Oh, I didn't commit. That's true. After you add, you always need to commit. So title. And the M for commit is the message and the message you're going to add. So it's always going to be commit, then the message, then the string of message that you want to add. I should always try to make your commit as descriptive as possible. So once I've done that, push. So yeah, I think we've covered a few things, at least with HTML and CSS. You should be able to at least put some elements on the page by now and maybe push to Git. Does anybody have any questions at this point? Okay, that means everybody is on the same page with this. Okay, I'd like to give like a, sorry?
Okay.
Somebody I want to say something.
Not exactly, sir. Not.
Okay. At this point, I'd like to give a small class test, because this is supposed to be like, what, how many hours? I think it's 3 hours, right?
Yes, sir.
So we still have, it's supposed to end 11, 12. Oh, that means we started by what time? 11, right?
Yes, sir.
And that means this is the end. 11 to 2. 12, 1, 2, 3. Okay. No while then. That means this class is coming to an end, and we're going to give you class work that everybody should do. So the class work is going to be hosted on your Git repository, and you would all be required to like drop a link to that Git repo. What I want you guys to do is to build something. It's going to be something of this sort. Of course, the design is totally up to you. It's just going to be a grid, just a header. You can leave this body out of it, and then a grid of this sort. It doesn't have to be as elaborate as this, but a header and then a grid of images. Does everybody understand?
Yes.
Okay, and if you have any, what do you call it? If you have any issues with it, or you want to talk about how to go about it, you can always reach out. But yeah, that is it. Let me add this to the chat so that you will see. An example of like what you should aim for. It does definitely, it wouldn't look like this, exactly like this, but just so you get an idea. You can make it as simple as possible. It's just to show that you've understood the basics of HTML and CSS. Somebody is raising their hand. He has said.
Yeah. Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah. Good afternoon.
I want to ask for activity. So during this task you gave us, this classwork.
Sorry, can you be like? Can you speak up? Because I can't hear you.
What up now? Can you hear me now?
Okay. Yes.
Okay, so I'm like, if you have challenges while doing this, can we reach out to you?
Oh, okay. Yes, that's fine.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, I can just drop my.
Huh? What did you say?
I can drop my email right here.
All right.
I'm also on your group chats, so you can Just say hi, Dave, and I'll reply you there. That's fine. Okay, in the absence of any other question, unless somebody has another question concerning this or any other thing, I think we should call it a day. We've spent 10 minutes past.
Sorry, Mr. David. So I just want to, are we submitting this today or?
I think we should aim for next class, because I've actually given you 2 things. I want you guys to write a report on programming on the internet and programming and web development. And then also create a small photo grid page for yourself. It's going to be a little challenging page, but I'm sure the write-up won't be a problem. Does everybody understand?
I understand, sir.
Yeah. Okay. All right, guys. Have a nice day.
Thank you so much, Mr. David. Thank you so much, sir.
So, yeah.